So, gentlemen and my lady, today we're going to be a strong woman. Yes, that's right, a lady of war, a tough, impossibly resilient soldier named Riven. She has a sudden dissonance in the story that turns her whole universe upside down. The point is this: she was a soldier of the kingdom, by killing and looting everywhere south of the Noxian world, and then a certain general named Sula sent her and the entire platoon of her loyal companions on a mid assault as suicide bombers. But Riven was surprised and didn't appreciate Sula's idea. Her patriotism was sharply deflated when she saw that she was the only survivor of the whole company. Moreover, the strange woman decided to take the revenge on her victorious general Sula, who, in her opinion, gave a criminal order. As we see, the woman head of our protagonist is full of romantic delusions of sublime, and she didn't get the fact that soldier is just another brick in the wall of war. Riven, having survived and deserted, she unconsciously found this nice man and brought her to his house. Immediately began to blackmail us that he would surrender to the soldiers if Madam Warrior doesn't press her knees to the beautiful parquet right now. Before the game had even started, our protagonist had her mouth filled. This scene, as well as the game's entire gallery, is going into the cut content. You will find it on my Patreon page. In general, I think you can lead the table, make a rating how quickly in an erotic game starts the process of demolition, while in this regard the absolute champion is Whorecraft. There the game even still has no time to start, and already, as they say, all started. Our mighty woman finds herself in the village of Castrum, and there is also General Sula. Riven sees him, armed to the teeth, surrounded by guards, and oh my god, begins to shout his name! The rest of her brains finally went to the tits. On the other hand, it's not every day that something you believed in so secretly falls apart, so you can chalk it up to shock. We were saved from imminent retribution by some dude. We decided to talk to the Mr. Man. Since we have no money, he gives us the first quest, which immediately sent the mood, almost inspired to exploits, interested in passing job by 200%. My favorite. You need to collect herbs, and then he will give us medicine chests. I started running around the town. For some reason we don't know yet, Sula has taken it over and set up a curfew. In the bar, I was told that Sula from the royal general's shoulders gives something to use soldiers, some Ionian woman. There is suspicious high level of excitement in the city, and there's a reason for it. Riven had to find a bed for the night. In the bar on the sofa we didn't give us anyone, and had to return to our savior. And for a deep French kiss below the waist, he allowed him to sleep one night. And this scene cannot be rewound. And as you understand, at first to live with him was to live a long time, and each time I had to look the same things. In the morning I was waiting for a challenge to find grass. I was chased by multicolored lights. If anything's opponents, they run fast and already from the start began to piss me off, because respawn as soon as you go to another locker. I wonder, where in this shit grass? No pointers, no even verbal description of where to look for grass in the game, wasn't. To my great fortune to this game there is a guide written by a concerned person, but in advanced spoiler, then the complexity will begin such that he will not save me. Oh my, I just couldn't imagine how did it without a guide. I couldn't find the grass even without a guide. By the way, where the grass grows, there are strong monsters and battles I began to lose, and our protagonist was pushed by a white substance, and she was automatically sent to the hut. Fires on this location didn't approve for my presence here, and every time fuck me, because meet them on a narrow path was impossible. Here I also met a girl who was lost, took her out, and her brother couldn't now offer me an assortment of magical services. In the end, the first quest took me 17 minutes of living time. It may seem a little, but it passed with a guide in which the location of the grass was specified. I was already already looking forward to what was to come next. By the way, the man's name was Nell. He was happy that we had collected herbs for him, and he gave us the task of taking some things to a very suspicious man in a raincoat at night. The police find me and suspicion that I was smuggling something, but it turned out to be Nell's trick. He was checking whether the cops were watching him or not. Strange dude. We also don't know what he's up to. It was Raven who blurted out the first minute that she was going to cut Sul's balls, but this guy won't confess to anything. Over a mug of sparkling wine, Raven chatted even more. For all those who thought that she decided to betray her homeland at the moment when she was sent at the Didla assault, she answers, no, she thought about all this even early, at the moment when she slaughtered 2 Ionians everywhere sowing the Noxian world. Even then she began to suspect something. Nell tells her that it was not the High Command that ordered Sula to invade Castrum. He did it on his own initiative. The reason is still unknown. I was drunk enough, so I decided that how would be a good time to attack the general. And surprisingly, but the game provides such an opportunity. We march in our position and then we are shown Riven, or rather what she has become, from all these procedures with soldiers, reasonably followed after her invasion on their base. Reversing back, I decided to act on the guide, bought from some woman things to be more stronger, then I went to the cave, found some stronger shit, and then went to the story in another cave. And there I saw our friend. He had been caught by the soldiers, threatening to torture him so that he even Jack the Ripper sees it. We need to intervene. So far the fights were sane. I even mentally thanked the developer for the fact that, unlike all RPG makers, he was at least a little sane. Although he forced me to look for grass, but at least he didn't do a total combat anal here. Oh, how I was mistaken, friends. Nell confesses that Sula is looking here for some things that fills all the living with lust. It must not get to the general, or we will go back to the totalitarianism and even with the erotic band. We having burned the garden here in the grove, which nobody liked anyway, and nobody will look for him. We returned to Nell, and there's such a miracle's rescue had to be urgently celebrated. And only one mojito was obviously not enough. This is followed by a sex scene. He wouldn't let us stay overnight in his place. Bastard. So Riven went back to the real man. In the morning we noticed that the men were more excited than usually, running around, waiting for the legendary performance of the Ionian whore. The show was supposed to take place in a bar, but there was already a queue, and I had to bring booze to the guy in the queue to see it. The wine cost 500 denarii, and I, deviating from the guide, bought myself some first aid kits with the little I had. Oh fuck, where to get money now? In the air hung a serious question. I had nothing to sell, save to roll back too far. For the destruction of rats they give me only 35 gold. It's more than 10 fights to farm. To my happiness, searching through the curves, I found a chest with 250 coins. So at the last money, buy wine from the old lady and give it to this man. They let me into the bar. Thank you. And there we see a beautiful Ionian girl. She's doing the service. Everyone is grouping her, but she doesn't like it at all. Riven probably feeling guilty in front of all Ionians, and she starts to want to save the particular girl. But how? Nell tells her that Sula is keeping her as a slave to himself, amusing her in the most exquisite ways, and he has no plans to let her go. We need to recruit her. So the soldiers get drunk more than usually today, and the only sober one on this alco party will be a kid from the mines, whom the soldiers, in order not to be distracted from the booze, make to be on a duty instead of themselves. He also doesn't like the Noxians, because they ruined his small business of weapons production. So with the boy to solve the problem is easier than ever. You need to create the the right pressure with your boobs and 2 points on his gear lever. Cross the speed up and down. And then the kid is already firmly in love with Riven, and therefore in jail will turn a blind eye to our appreciations and we can chat with a Ionian. Her name is Aurelia. But the blue-haired woman doesn't like us very much, considering that we killed her people. Ok, but now we want to redeem ourselves, and she doesn't have much choice, either to believe us or to continue entertaining the Noxian soldiers. So Aurelia agrees to escape. That's all well and good, but how we have to organize it properly? And then what to do with Aurelia? They will be looking for her. Nell has an answer to this question too. He asks Riven to remember that man in the clock. The meeting is scheduled in the cave. Riven even didn't have to suck him off. He gave it to him because he works for Nell. Anyway, we got a cape. I go to the bar. The girl should have a good time after the shift. I had to kill a lot of monsters in the cave. And in the bar Aurelia and no modest pet on her ass. They played our hardcore now. That poor girl had to endure and obey. At night, when she was transferred to the jail and the soldiers again drunk in the waist, we penetrate inside. But on the same day, Vork's souls flare. He comes in the middle of the night with an inspection straight, in the same time when we organized escape, and it seemed that Riven to join Aurelia, and his harem complete will be replenished. At this moment, Nell appears and it turns out that he's not a Nell at all. He's not even a man, he's a woman. That means Riven was fucked by a woman named LeBlanc, a famous warrior from League of Legends, like all the rest. Thanks for LeBlanc's effort, we fall into an ass full of creatures looking for fight, but without Sula. I wandered around for 10 minutes, exploring, fighting the bastards, and then I met a call for one. His name was Dew, and the only things he says is Dew and Bew. Aurelia asked me not to call him stupid, because, attention guys, he is her man. We politely stepped aside, and they started filling the cave with obscene gasps, and even Riven didn't ask to join in. But it was too early to be disappointed about that. I was the cave trekking through the same corridors. At in the end of the prize in the form of meeting new creatures. Minotaurs. Not even orcs. Unbelievable. The combat was still tolerable. I keep in touch. After 34 minutes of my walking through the cave, which is not over yet, the girls look a break. There was a dialogue between them. Nothing new. They strength-hated their opinion that the Noxians are not good, and their method of liberation by taking out all living things on their ways is somehow not very virtuous. We chatted, again watched Dew perform his conjugal duty, and let's keep fucking around the cave. Finally, we managed to get out. By the way, Dew will now walk with us. He is indispensable as a healer. Thanks to the clock and the fact that Aurelia wore Dew under it, in the city we did not cause much suspicion. LeBlanc is secretly spying for Sula, but I think it's not very secretly anymore. The High Commanders are afraid that he will acquire a mysterious power in these catacombs and eventually he will become like a Sauron, so it's necessary to prevent him. But it's very curious, what's a super artifact he will find there? That's why they do not want to prevent him and arrest him, especially since his army, like Julius Caesar, trained and everyone fears and adores him. Aurelia, since she was so lucky to be rescued, will stay with us in the party and will also actively prevent Sula from gaining power. Further events show us that a certain Katarina, who dreams of taking Sula's position, came to spies on Sula's suspicion as she's also an assassin, like Hitman on the Beautiful. Well, our plan is simple. We need to keep an eye on these two, and the main thing is not to get caught. So, with Aurelia, we sneak into the guest house where Sula settled Katarina, we drink the general's favorite wine, we engage in passionate lesbianism, oh my god, in the bed of our most dangerous enemy, and yet we were not caught. As a result, we begin to eavesdrop on Sula's next door. He wants to show the redhead something beautiful deep in a dark cave. I want to see it too. I you understand. Well, before that I ran into a lonely hut where I locked myself in a closet with Aurelia and the threesome with Dew still took a place. But that's not the point. The point is Sula is in a good relations with Minotaurs, and he brought Katarina to their cave and then revealed all the cards to her. He said that, hey Katarina, how about joining me in search of a mysteriously artifact that gives us super awesomeness? Oh, you need to think about it. Well, anyway, I didn't plan to take you in the pack. So Minotaurs, boys, take this slut. Katarina did not expect that everything is so messed up. Her people were left without a chance, and she was through to 3 passionate Minotaurs, and we were waiting for the sand. Katarina was furious at this situation, but as if with Minotaur's tools in the mouth, and not only in the mouth, is not particularly twitchy. Riven and her friends arrive at the base of Minotaurs. They are not super advanced with their brains, only one of them has a good brain, but they have organized some kind of society here, with trade, arms sales and of course with orgies. But females are in a great shortage, so you have to be careful. Minotaur's quests one better than other. Catch them rats for dinner or snatch eggs from the nests. But it's necessary not to fight on the way with the light, or the eggs will burst and do it all over again. On the stupidity of quests, game kept the bear stable. I find some very cool sword in the dungeon, and with it we can make an exchange. It for Katarina. Sula thought it all out well, threw the red hat to the Minotaurs, and fix she didn't get out of her on her own. We brought the sword to the natives and exchanged it for the red hat, because they will find chicks, but such a good tram sword? Oh, it's unlikely. The red hat is a bold girl, but LeBlanc said don't make a fuse. The sisters are in my team, and we should think how to uncover Sula's dirty secret. Now we have a new addition to our party in the form of Katarina. Before going to beat Sula's face, LeBlanc advised to rest, otherwise we will pass the game, and the developer is preparing surprises in the form of impassable bosses in Wayne. The point is, go get some experience, son. No way. I'm going to pull out the ice ring of what I have. I told it to myself and rushed after the general. His dirty laundry we will soon discover. He even forget that sent Riven in the stuffing through. The general says, yes, I sent a lot of people. How can I remember you all? But it was for the overall victory. Why are you fucking surprised? Rightly noticed the general. He doesn't care about us. He's got a lustful creatures here. That's who causing the excitement. We can't defeat him according to the scenario. We can't fight with itching pussies. So we make a tactical regrouping on the field. And now we are thinking what to do next. There's the pause at the main plot. We got back to our man. We have a choice of where to spend the night. Katarina invites herself to visit and Aurelia too. How the fuck can you say they will live in the city when Sula's on the case? Well, in the game it was played in such way that the guards became a bit shocked from the fact that their chief wanders through the caves and tries to induce the sexy monster to cooperate, and now they do not know what orders to carry out. In addition, do not forget that Katarina also detachment in the village brought. The main things is not that. The main things is to decide where Riven will continue to work with her mouth and now also with her ass for the sake of her landlord, or will move to live with one of the girls. No one's stopping us from sleeping with everyone, which I'm going to do. Then for me began one of the most terrible stage of the game. The main plot went behind the background. You had to do quests, leaving here idiots, and you have already realized what level of quests are waiting here. The maximum nonsense and most importantly, damn impossible. LeBlanc went somewhere in the script and she didn't leave a report explaining where. Okay, let's go help people. First we need to help one captain to betray Sula. He has one weakness. Her name is Katarina. A pervert from school dreamed of screwing her, so it will be not difficult difficult to induce him to our side. Katerina is a little broken, but in the end her teeth played a role and the captain is now in our sleeve, waiting for the command when to plunge the sword into the back of Sula. Before going to visit, I went to the stable. A must-have attribute for any self-respecting hentai game. Guess which of our 3 girls will get horse love in the stable. The answer will surprise you, but not here. There was not something particularly crazy in this quest. You just need to come at night in the stable. Why do it all in the context of all that is happening? According to reason, they came here to look for a secret passage through which the horses sip. What the fuck? You could have come up with a pretty reason, developer. Like the girls need war horses or overfeeding them with purgan so they will misfire at the right moment if the guards chase the girls. Anyway, after getting the sketches, I finally realized that the plot won't get off the ground until we start actively helping the citizen freaks. We need to help them to revolt and throw Sula off the throne. For example, Granny needs a poison, and to make a poison in the merchant needs our favorite herbs. Anticipating what the fuck this quest, I decided not to do it. The green-headed jerks offers us to farm the cave so that he can make weapons from the ore. And also, in the prison there are ireless blades, which we need to return. But to get them back you have to dress up like a maid and go to work in the prison. Well, out of 3 missions I decided to start with the most disgusting one. To find 10 reed star herbs. It's just a nightmare. They are scattered all over the map and even hidden. I had a guide, so I even on it I couldn't understand where the location of this. Oh my god, the main thing, I've already looked for this grass. Well, why are you do it with me, developer? Pointlessness and idiocy of the quest tripled the feelings of the time I spent on his search. In the end, Pracy hairy balls, I found it. Here it is, and fuck you, Granny. The next quest, I eliminated the boss in the cave, good skills still had enough, and then prepared to look into the prison, buy a mate's custom and go to fish out of the cage saber. And this quest burned my brain, because what was the point? Riven had to become in front of every guard suspecting her kneeling to do the moth justice thereby, and eventually get the key to the warehouse. But not matter what I did, every fucking time the task failed. I didn't understand why. The guy didn't say shit about it. I tried me alternate approaches. Then I thought maybe a hidden timer, maybe not that approach. Passes 15 times this quest, but nothing worked. Attention question, guys. What do you think you had to do to get the coveted key and steal Ionian sabers? The first options, to come here at night when everyone is tired. The second options, to get everyone drunk with wine beforehand. And the third options, to fuck half of the neighborhood beforehand, to meditate at the stone and to do an erotic dance in the bar. The right option, number 3. Turns out we needed to raise the last level. How to do this could be guessed. I guessed on the hint while the plus in the guide showed how to open hentai sense, but I had no idea that this is a prerequisite for passing the main quest, and there was no hide of it. We just called, she didn't bite anyone's dick. How could I guess? I mean, there could be a million reasons why the quest failed. From that point on, I realized I was never going to finish the game. Having completed 3 of these missions, the plot shifted. We were waiting for great news. Sula led a naked LeBlanc, dragged her by a rope tied around her neck. Yeah, for the amusement of the people. And she is wearing the latest magic blocker 2000 color. Once our elusive girl was caught, she was beaten with a twig, but she did not drop her head. She was proud and unbroken. Now she had to be rescued, but cunning Sula began to keep her not in prison, from which always escaped. He began to keep her in his chambers. Well, it's time for the inhabitants to revolt. No, did I bring 10 reeds to Granny for nothing? It's time to repay Granny. The main gang is assembled. Everyone dreams to beat up the Noxian soldiers. Moreover, Katerina worked with her breasts like crazy. That's why the captain has already seen the time for betrayal. betrayal. We break into the castle, kidnap LeBlanc, get out of the city, and while Sula chases up, the villagers storm the castle and retake the city. What a great plan! I set about executing it. We break into the castle. There are already soldiers are busy with LeBlanc, and if we on the timer it's not in time, we will see the scene of what and how they will do with it. Sula, that good generous, shared with his fighting brotherhood maiden. That's why they love him. He's not at all greedy in this regard, probably impotent. When in the end LeBlanc's brain can't stand it and they need us all, there is demonstration of how girls will look after total sex, which the faint of heart shouldn't look at. But according to the canon, we succeed and escape. LeBlanc teleports us out of the city, and Sula, sputtering with drool, begins pursuit with the main forces. At the same time, the plebs went to the assault, and we returned from the countryside to help them. And then began what I feared more than anything else in the world. The battlefield ceased to be hospitable and forgiving. It turned into a fierce, impenetrable fray for my level of pumping and my stock of medical kits. Almost 40 minutes it took me to overcome the boss. My armor was cancelled, and I had to fight with heavily armed soldiers with the help of sleepers. I realized that if I don't start repeating mob killing, nerfing now, the next bosses will be beyond me. I mean, the game offered this beautiful quest to find herbs, and now I have to polish this with combat grindo sucks. So in the end the plebs took the castle, but the cunning Sula did not go to beat it back. He realized that it's necessary to bet on finding the sex monster and his taming, and this also requires soldiers, whose lives of course will have to be sacrificed. I was waiting for a quest, which became another brick in the coffin of my passage. Just that we got some kind of tragic epic today. Homer's Odyssey is just smoking on the sidelines. Well, I had to tame the last full ghouls will stop throwing themselves at girls at night. I didn't know if this was an optional quest or a mandatory one, because I used to think that additional quests were optional here, but Riven's low lust proved the opposite. Well, the ghoul had to be tamed at all costs. And you're thinking, what you need to do to tame the ghoul? There's a real arsenal of different options, so much room of imagination. The quest can be made so unusual and memorable that for many years you will remember with nostalgia how interesting it was to do it. To fulfill this wonderful quest, LeBlanc must make a potion for us, and for her to be able to make a potion for us, you need to find 3 reeds. They are very rare. For the third time they ask me to look for reeds. I just want to kill myself. Really. I found 2 relatively quickly. Well, according to the screenshots looked. But the third, to my horror, I noticed that the guide maker was fucked up to describe in detail where all this undiscoverable shit is located, and just indicated in a picture of a cave. And the caves here, you know, the caves here are one the same as the other. 36 minutes I tried to find this fucking cave. I searched everything several times, but didn't find it. Spoiler, later I will find it, but not now. I had to postpone the mission. Someone will wonder what to do next with the plot. Well, it's like this. You have to find someone to help, purely blindly, and then maybe it will move from a dead point. And I'm already the third step has not found, and my morale and confidence in victory was undermined frugally. But I haven't given up yet. I went to the Minotaurs and loaned Catherine's ass to this handsome man. And I don't know if that helped the plot move forward, but yes, it made me feel a little better. It's especially annoying to run across an already more or less pumped up clearing from low-level enemies who wanted to get their face kicked in from you again every time. And so, it turns out that the scenario was to look for the root at night in the well. There are different mobs crawling there, and the main thing is that this is where Dew wants to set up his hut, because everyone has it and he doesn't. As you understand, the outcome of this mission waiting for the boss. But to get the honor to fight him, you need to clean the caves from all the mobs, which I did. Before that I found a herb and LeBlanc made me potions. I got a scene with a ghoul. He was tamed and now sat in the enclosure, always ready for new erotic exploits. I returned to the cave to defeat the boss and get a home for my little animal. Guide maker said the boss will be a bit difficult, but killable. What can I say? He took me down like no Minotaur took down Katarina. I've put the best armor, I've bought some health kits, but it's all for nothing. With this, not the strongest boss at all, Verbeard hoped to pass the game. To defeat him, you had to do what any games want from you on this engine. And not only on this engine, but on RPGM especially. You need to repetitively farm experience, gold again and again. Since this glorious process take a lot of time, I didn't do it, and few the passage will not be. But you will notice that on the timeline I'm still going to say something there. And I have a good news. It seems that, judging by the guide, I was more or less close to the end of the game. Just few there was such a description of bosses that I spit it off. However, I got the saves files, and they allow us to see how it all ended here. And the game has a variety of endings, and I will tell you about them. It's interesting. All events lead us to the fact that we find ourselves in a cave. Well, who would have doubted? And there was to cut Soul's desire to rule the planet. Especially how many people have already given their lives for the desires of the crazy general. And then begins the most interesting. If we put a special crystal beforehand, according to the story, we had to get them eliminating black balls. If we put it in front of the entrance, it will give us extra power in the battle against Sula. In the beginning follows a boss fight with the general, and then the awakening. With a good ending, Sula's conscience wakes up, and he selflessly dives into the abyss with the fiend of hell. The girls start to happy ending, and we have our first choice. We can continue our destiny with one of them. If we choose Irela, then we will go to atone for all the shit that was done to her people. The ladies with Dew will sit at the fire, cook soup, and the continuation will be in a tent, but we will not see it. Okay, it's not a problem, because we will see in the cutscenes. Also, we can give preference to LeBlanc. She will return to the Noxus, and she offers to call her from now on Mistress and follow a tough scene of harsh LeBlanc dominance over Riven. If we choose Katarina, then there will be no sex scene. We will become a kind of assassin. We will be in the sex suites, running on rooftops and hunting for bad guys and girls. There is another options. We will not choose any of the girls, and we will go to live with our sweeter, who all the game stuck as his boa constrictor. Riven will finally stop breaking down, accept her fate, and gives herself to her family life. We will get an apron and a ladle and become a housewife. All molestation scenes while we are cooking included. Riven can give preference to the green-haired guy. After 2 dizzying blowjobs, he immediately proposed marriage. So that option's quite working, turned out. And that's not all. If we don't give ourselves to either of them, we can make a career as a working prostitute. The mirror will issue a license and we will become a tramp. Good! And that's just the beginning of the wonderful endings, gentlemen. Let's go back to Sula. If he will beat us, the lives of the girls will be in his hands, except LeBlanc. She will run away. Sula will give Ionian to his capo, Redhead he will keep to himself, and Riven will sell to the slave trader Noxian. With this ending, we start playing for the slave trader. He gets the unruly Riven, and we need to break her spirit to push her to all willing people and not only people. And the developer of the game would not be a developer if he managed to fuck up even such a gorgeous theme? Yes, unfortunately. In the beginning it's all interesting. We can ask one soldier to help us in training Riven. We have access to a whole market where we can hire guards or another trainer. I even complete a quest for sex toys. But what's the trouble here? If you want to open scenes, you have to make very precise calculation in the accumulation of dust. We are periodically robbed. Riven periodically begins to whine that she's tired of being a slave and her stats are falling. So the fun turns into a fierce, impenetrable fuck. I was constantly robbed and just could not move at all from a dead point. Perhaps I mismanaged the money and without starting from the beginning, here was impossible to go next. The more skilled in the horror art Riven became, the more different creatures we could rent her to. Corrupt officials, guards, tentacles. We could sell Riven as a highly skilled prostitute. We could give her to a monster, or we could just keep her. So let's go back to Sula, and I will tell you my favorite ending. If we don't get the crystal and kill Sula, it's gonna be a big bada boom, and we're gonna get blown to the nearest wall. The girls will be picked up by the Minotaurs and taken to a cave we already know, and we will have to figure out how to survive. The problem is that after the explosion, the girls lost all their pump-pad skills, and just leave the cave by killing on the way all the Minotaurs will not work. In addition, as they will later say, upstairs now there's an apocalypse, especially in the village, I mean in the town. So go there is not worth it, but we're gonna try to get out anyway. To do that we need to make friends with the new village chief. He wants us to help him win over the most powerful members of the Minotaur's Brotherhood, the merchant, the cook and the armorer. And also there's our buddy, the adequately speaking Minotaur, who is also the theoretical escape route. He will help us, but only if we help him. The chatter wants us to bring him a witch. Why he is too shy to approach her himself, I don't know. He needs her because she is good at magic, and this one can't stop his passion for sorcery and wants to learn magic tricks, so that he can become a chief himself in the long run. We have a bifurcated branch to have the current leader and the one who wants to become him. No one prevents you from doing them in parallel, especially since in the future they will be combined, as you would have guessed how it will be. He also gave us a cow Castrum, the symbol of the main breeding female. I go to convince the cook. He needs eggs. I didn't show you this, but even in the passage of these shitty eggs, I brought him in the amount of 20 pieces, thinking that it's necessary for the plot. It turned out not, and here again. You need to carry the eggs so as not to get into the lantern chasing you. Otherwise you will fail. Fuck off from the location. Wait for the eggs to fall off again and go again. I go after the witch. The Minotaurs say we want to fuck with Blue. I give it to them. I did not even begin to argue. Then we let us pass and we start a dialogue with the witch. The witch understands that we had the power, but now it says not, and the Minotaurs do not know about this. Otherwise they would have put us on a leash and beaten us dry, like some of the girls who hang around here. By the way, the witch doesn't not plan to run away. She says it's warm, cozy, there are plenty of elastic dicks, they respect her for her magic, and all of this house outside, so no, she's fine here. And so, we set her up with a clever Minotaur, amidst their shared magical interests. Here we also offer one peasant maiden to pass to the armor, who is looking for an assistant for a long time. She will say that she from us, and partially the quest is completed. In addition, we go to the storeroom. There we give Riven for the use of Minotaur lusts, and he will already have access to the storeroom. And there is some magical shit that will have the talkative Minotaur to gain strength and tear down the regime of the current leader, and then he will let us go. But there is the problem. There is no key. Before we know it, we are all wearing special suits. We go to the talkative one. He's made friends with the witch. She's lying a slumber and able to cross her legs. But the Minotaur tell us he's talked to the guards and they will let us go. I rush to them and they are ready to let us go. But not all of us. The redhead has to stay stay. As you can imagine, it's one of the endings. Riven and Aurelia leave, and Katerina is dragged into the caves. And then there's a scene where she stays with them forever. This option didn't suit us, and I began to look for other endings. Soon we find the key. Katerina had to work with her jaw, once again, to get it. But we had the key, and we take the magical things from the chest to the talker. We have fulfilled our part of the deal, and he's ready, waiting for us to finish our business. Because in the fact we have completed all the quests for the current chief. First I go to the chief, and he badly threw us, saying that we are not going anywhere. Stay here, stupid girls. You still have offspring to raise. The girls are desperate. We have two more options. Leave Aurelia here while the others run away, or Riven, sacrifice her pussy and stay here while the other two run away, either. Or we go to the talker, let him keep his end of the bargain, like organize a meeting. And they did it. They put Riven in the pose, put her on both sides, began to negotiate with each other through her, and it turns out that this is their tribal custom. There's nothing personal about it. They agreed, deciding that you false girls will not go anywhere. And then we have the option to give into fate and have a super orgy with all the Minotaurs, forgetting about this damn life outside the caves. There was another ending related to Dew, but I didn't understand how to get it. And when I looked at the guide and see what is waiting for me, I didn't really want to try to pass, because it seems to be even more complicated than even at the end of the slave. Judging by the guide, Dew became evil and seized the town. We were waiting for a bunch of tentacle scenes. The point of the finale is to simply grind all the tentacles and recapture the city.